Hey family, I'm excited once again to present to you in our Friday Night Live series, Caring for Others and Ourselves. We'll be dealing with this idea of dealing with our youth and our children. We'll have a list or a host of special guests, even from our New Faith Church family. We'll have educators, we'll have psychiatrists, and we even have individuals who've dealt with youth as such as counselors. We look forward to each and every one of you sharing with us as we share with you on ways that we can deal with our youth in the times in which we live. Have a blessed day.
Good evening. First, I must give all praise to God the Father, God the Son, who is the Lord of my life, and to God the Holy Spirit, who teaches and empowers me to speak to you today. Next, I give honor and acknowledgement to the Senior Pastor, Dr. Andre Lewis, and the First Lady, Kimberly Lewis, and thank them for having me. Thank you to all who decided to join us for this presentation. I pray that the information shared will serve as a source of inspiration for you as you continue in your God-ordained parenthood. I am Dr. Kathy Scott Gurnell, a child psychiatrist, local Houstonian. I was reared right here in 5th Ward at 5th Ward Missionary Baptist Church and a graduate of Cashmere High School. I was reared by Christian parents, and I myself am honored to be a parent of 3 biological and several God-given young adults. I come to you from the Fort Bend Church, where Reverend Byron Stevenson is the senior pastor. Again, thank you for having me today. We will talk about minimizing my child's stress. Most people don't recognize signs or symptoms of stress within themselves or their children. A little later, we will discuss a mnemonic from my parenting book, The Economics of Parenting, His Gift, Your Giving, and His Increase. In the book, this mnemonic was written for parents to help them de-stress. However, for today, I have recreated the mnemonic so that it focuses on stress in children. Before we get started, I want to offer a disclaimer. We humans are not perfect. We parents are not perfect. As we talk today, know that I am sharing as best I can what perfect parents should do. I do not want you to think I am purposely coming to New Faith to step on toes. That is not my intentions. However, I encourage you to keep an open mind and let's all strive to leave better than we came. It is key to recognize as parents, you set the temperature for your home, but it is very important that you are in charge of that. Remember, God designed the family to emulate the Trinity, operating in love, peace, and harmony. And if this is missing, we have work to do. For example, if dad is always angry, yelling, and stressed, so will mother. And guess what? So will the children. If this is you or your home, we must determine who stole the peace. Whether father, mother, or child, an adjustment is necessary. So first, let's identify the person. And then it's very important, especially if this is an adult, that we get a good physical examination to make sure there are no physical illnesses which may affect your mood, such as untreated high blood pressure, hyper or hypothyroidism, hormonal conditions, unresolved emotional disturbances, depression or anxiety disorders, just to name a few. Next, we want to assure that you are feeding your mind, body, and soul properly. What are you reading, watching, or listening to? What is your body using as energy source? Alcohol, drugs, fast foods, sweets? Most importantly, how often, especially in this day and age, are you nourishing your soul? Sorry to announce, but as of March 2020, the routine of a sermon a week to maintain my peace is not sufficient. Not when God has given us clarity of vision to see, 1, a fallen world, 2, His amazing grace, and 3, His expectations of the human race during a season of COVID, racial, and social unrest. This is indeed a season that we cannot successfully navigate through without a relationship with God. Increase your time with God's Word, your relationship with Christ, and your love for others. Lastly, remember, children are a gift from God. He has chosen you to be the steward of these young souls, and He trusts you to bring them up in a way that will bring them back to Him and propel them to their purpose in Him. Once we have checked ourselves as parents and brought ourselves back to balance and a place of peace, we must get busy establishing a nourishing environment for our children. Time is of the essence. 18 years old is here before you know it. Actually, we must start much younger to prevent parenting from being an uphill battle. I want to discuss some very critical time zones here. Infancy, according to Erickson's stages of development, is when trust versus mistrust is established. It's real simple. Either you feed the baby and keep them dry and comfortable, which helps to establish trust, or you do not, which helps to establish mistrust. By age 4, your little brown child has already been exposed to the difference between how whites versus blacks are treated, and this may warrant some education and discussion. If you have not laid a moral foundation by age 6, it is getting late. By now, your child is forming their own opinions. Often, biblical training will need to go into overdrive to undo their thoughts. Ephesians 5:15 through 16 reads, "Therefore, be careful how you walk, not as unwise men, but as wise, making the most of your time because the days are evil. Don't be foolish. Time is of the essence, especially regarding shaping our children and rearing them in the admonition of the Lord. There is no time to waste. Get busy and stay consistent." So is Bible study at church important for our children? Yes. Is talking about God's statutes in the home important? Yes. Is showing them how prayer works necessary? Yes, and priceless. Is leaving a legacy of Jesus mandatory? Yes, a life or death situation. Let me share the words of Frederick Douglass. It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Okay, let's walk through this mnemonic, which I mentioned previously. It's termed stressed versus dessert, and this is the children's version. Did you know that stressed spelled backwards is dessert? As you know, desserts are the go-to when we are under stress. We reach for the chocolate, the carbs, or sweets. But today we will identify signs and symptoms for when our children are stressed, and then look at methods for reversing the stress and bringing them back to a place of peace. Looking at the spelling of stressed. S, sleep disturbance. Your child may have trouble falling asleep, awakening through the night, or even nightmares. For teenagers, we may see them sleeping too much. T, thoughts. They're unable to focus and concentrate. Grades may fall. For teens, they may complain of their thoughts being crowded, or you may notice they stop talking altogether. R, ranting. Irritated, easily frustrated, and arguing with others. Some may even engage in physical fighting, which is out of character for them. E, energy. Too low, laying around a lot. And sometimes it could be the opposite, so anxious that they're hyperactive. S, sadness. Down, crying a lot. For teens, this can look different. It can look more like anger. S, suicidal. Lose the will to live. The young may purposely try to harm themselves. I've seen them fall on the floor, try to bump their heads on something, and to a very young child, this is their attempt to actually kill themselves. Teens also may have thoughts such as this. E, emptiness. Helplessness, hopelessness, worthlessness. Not playing with anyone. Not wanting to be bothered with anyone. Teens can lose interest even in extracurricular activities such as sports or band. Disconnected, isolated, and prefer to be alone. With teens, we're accustomed to them of wanting to be around friends rather than grown-ups. But during this disconnectedness, they are not even interested in being around friends. They're also at risk during this time of getting involved in delinquent behavior and experimenting with substances. Now let's shift to solutions. We want to think of dessert now, the opposite of stress. Healthy desserts to assist our children overcome stress using the letters of dessert. First letter D for doctor. That is who you want to see right away if your child is experiencing 4 or more of the stress list we just discussed. A behavioral health provider can let you know whether therapy or medicine or both is indicated. We are all aware of the stigma in mental health, especially in the African American community. We must wake up and prepare to heal. Why do we take insulin for diabetes? To get our glucose back to a normal level. But we think it is ridiculous to take medication for depression to get our brain serotonin back to a normal level? What is the risk of untreated depression in children, you ask? Untreated depression can last 2 years, and the symptoms can worsen, including hallucinations with voices telling them to kill themselves. And suicide does happen in children. The youngest completed suicide I have seen is a 6-year-old. Research has shown that 4 or more adverse childhood experiences can lead to mental health conditions. So far, for example, a child who experienced the death of a parent, witnessed domestic violence, is physically abused, and is African American and has experienced racial discrimination may be at risk for depression. Reminder: once there are 4 or more symptoms, the intervention requires trained behavioral health providers to reverse and treat the condition. Okay, Let's assume your child is only experiencing two of the aforementioned, poor sleep and grades falling. How can parents intervene? And this is where we're going to go through dessert. Number one was doctor, and we just discussed that. Now E, extracurricular activity. For children, this could be going to the park to play, an arranged play date with a friend, participating in a service project of their interests, sports. Find something your teen or your child enjoys and offer the opportunity for that activity more often. Don't underestimate exercise. It releases endorphins, which are the natural feel-good chemicals the brain may need. S, spiritual training. Training a child, as the Bible tells us, is serious business. Your child would not always have you available, and they need to have the foundation to support them during hard times. Help them see when prayers have been answered and the benefit of having God in their lives. S, structured time. Children need structure. A certain time to go to bed, a time to get up, a time to work, and a time to play. If you don't have bedtime routines, start now, especially with children 11 and under. For example, I staggered my children's bedtime per age by 30 minutes when they were young. This way I could tuck each one in separately. Once they were 12 and older, you still want to allow them the one-on-one time to conversate with you as often as possible. And bedtime is a good time for that. If your child can talk to you when things are fine, they will talk to you when things are not. If you are always telling your young child to be quiet, rest assured, as a teenager, they will not talk to you about their concerns. It is never too late to begin to do what is right. Expose your mistake and apologize. Children are very forgiving if you are genuine. E, express love. More than anything in the world, your child needs your love. Girls require a lot of hugs, and boys a lot of affirmation. Watch your words. Make sure you are speaking positivity over your child and not negativity. Make sure your child knows his or her worth to you and to God, and that they know without a doubt how much you love them. With young children, it is interesting that when we try to test medications versus placebo with them, we have to make sure there is limited doctor-patient or therapist-patient activity, because just the extra time can make a difference. The extra attention can often get them better. Studies have also shown that most children just need one adult who really cares to bring them from a place of adversity to a place of success. This I have seen with my own eyes. Aura, reach goals. Help your child to set daily, weekly, and when older, annual goals. Pray with them over the goals and celebrate wildly when they achieve them. T, try something new. Children between the ages of 8 to 11 are in an industrious stage of development, and they need to find what they are good at and what they enjoy, whether sports, the arts, or STEM activities. Encourage them to try something new. Lastly, start fresh. With young children, long punishments are ineffective. A child 10 and under need a punishment that is over by bedtime so they can start fresh the next day. Punishments begin and end with the adult. Otherwise, they are not effective. For example, if 9-year-old Johnny sneaks outside, the punishment should be given that day, whether writing 20 times "I will not sneak out," early bedtime, or whatever, as long as it begins and ends the same day. If I say, "Johnny, you can't go outside for 2 weeks," and within a few days, Johnny comes begging and I give in or I forget, and he eventually goes out, that was not a punishment, but rather an exercise in outsmarting mom and dad, or a boost of confidence in the child's begging or manipulation skills. Keep punishments short and sweet. A successful punishment emphasizes consequences to negative behaviors, and new mercies will give your child the motivation to try to do better next time. With teens, you can go a little longer with the punishments, but the length is not the shaping force, but rather the start and stop time controlled by the parent is what is effective. In summary, our children needs us like we need God. Daily discussions, daily mercy, daily affirmations, and daily love. All you are not willing to talk about will be discussed by the world, so do not hesitate to educate. A national study with teens some years ago found that parents just talking to their children, for example, about not smoking, increased the likelihood of their children not smoking, even into adulthood. If they ask the questions, give them God's answers, because truth is what they will need. They have already Googled it. They already have the world's answer. Make sure you are exposing and filling your children with as much of God's word as possible to balance all the world is putting into them. But the knowledge is not good enough. We must teach them how to apply it. In closing, may I leave you with a bravo. First, that you are here. You are a parent who belongs to a Bible-based church. You are striving to be a better parent and to make sure your child is introduced to Christ. You are equipped and prepared and trusted by God to do this job. And with prayer and persistence, you can succeed. I do hope something I share today will help you, but I must leave you with my secret sauce for rearing children. Author, God. Deuteronomy 6:5-9. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. These words which I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your sons, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontals on your forehead. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Thank you kindly for your time and attention today.
Hello. As a parent of a senior in high school, I'm quite sure you're worried about what's going on with them. At this point, I want to give you a few tips that will help you to make sure that as a graduating senior, they've done all that they need to have done. Number one, in order to apply for a college or university, you have to have an application on file, you have to have an application fee waiver, you have to have a test score or test optional, and then you must have your transcript. All four of those items need to be accepted by the university or college and inputted in order for you to have been accepted. So if your students have done that and haven't gotten an answer, make sure that they just have all information inputted. Next, as a parent right now, because all college fairs are virtual, your students are getting emails daily, because I know I send close to 30 a week. So talk to your student, ask them to open their email so that you can check to see what their high school college rep is sending them. Because 9 times out of 10, they're gonna have about 50 invitations that they have not opened. So kind of follow up. You don't wanna rush them, because I know they're overwhelmed, but make sure that you're giving them the assistance to say, hey, look, we're going to college, we have to do this. My final point, financial aid. Financial aid is free government money. Key thing is, if you're 65,000 and below, you're guaranteed a zero index, which is guaranteed at least $6,000 a year. It's free money. It doesn't take but a few minutes. Talk to your high school, college rep, your college counselor to see what needs to be done. Once you get that done, next thing you know, May is coming, you're walking across the stage and you're walking into college. Good luck.
After a long day's work, parents often come home and struggle with, what can I do to assist my child? Well, I have an answer. One strategy is to first find out if that child's teacher has recorded their lesson plans previously or if it's a live recording. Hopefully so. If that's the case, go back over those lessons with your child to reiterate some of those concepts that are misunderstood. As well as there are a plethora of YouTube videos that can help with concepts, Purple Math, Virtual Nerd, and one good website, www.ixl.com. We also ask as parents, what can I do to help my child be organized? Well, just plain and simple, instead of the iPhone or the Samsung Galaxy, just simply use a basic calendar, write down dates of assignments, projects, and tests to help your child stay organized. It's always better to work smarter, not harder. Parents often ask the question, what can I do to advocate for my child? Well, the first thing is introduce yourself as being a child's parent and let the teacher know that you're a supportive parent. You're not a got-you parent, but you're a parent that's there to support your child and work along with the teacher. Email all of your child's teachers, letting them know who you are, that you're willing to work with them, and if anything comes about, then you're there to support them as well as your child. Some teachers also provide parents with phone numbers, mainly Google numbers, whereby you can call and communicate with them as well. However, I would say be respectful. Don't call after hours.
Hi, I was asked to identify what is the difference between special education and 504. Special education provides IEPs, which are individual education plans and related service to meet a child's unique needs. An evaluation is required to determine eligibility for service for special education in such areas as learning disability, ADHD, and autism, and others. The child must need specialized instructions to meet progress in school. Section 504 provides modifications in the general education classroom, and the disability must influence with the child's ability to learn in a general education classroom. I was also asked to give the parents suggestions on organization and time management skills. Students that require support beyond organization generally exhaust all the modifications and the accommodations offered to the students by the campus, such as tutorials, one-on-one with the teachers, and small group instructions. If the student is struggling with organization and time management, the student's skills would generally improve the implementation of study skills, accommodations, and modifications. And another thing, I can give advice for parents with what advice would I give a parent for students working online, in school, struggling with COVID. First, I would say, parents, assist your child with setting up a folder with tabs and dividers. The second thing, designate an area in your home that the child can complete assignments and are able to monitor. The third thing, set aside 20 minutes a day for silent reading, which you can have audio books, and another 20 minutes would be for math frequency checks. The fourth thing, find out what interventions are available on campus, virtual, that your child can attend. And lastly, schedule a conference with your child's teacher to express your concerns. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Erica Landry, and I'm a teacher in Pearland ISD. I was asked this evening to provide insight on the importance of keeping the camera on during instruction. Keeping your camera on allows the teacher to see that you are engaged and you are actively participating. When you do have your camera on, make sure that you always make a comment or ask a question. That allows the teacher to see that you are paying attention. Down the road, if you ever need a recommendation or support of any kind, your engagement on camera allows the teacher to say something more favorably for you.
Now, more than ever, parents may find that they need support for their student, not just academically, but socially and emotionally as well. They may be seeking answers as to where do I start, who do I speak to, and that answer is their counseling department. This can be at your campus for your student, or you can start with your district's website that may include services that share hotlines, as well as websites, or local agencies that can share information on how to navigate support for your students socially and emotionally. It's vitally important that you start with your school's campus counselor because they have more interaction with your student that will allow them to give annotations, observations, and information about how your student is interacting socially and emotionally within their classes, with their teachers and their peers. You should also annotate or make notations of what you noticed with your student so that you can share it with your school counselor and they can help you navigate and choose the appropriate responsive services that can assist your child in being successful inside and outside the classroom.
Greetings, New Faith family. My name is Candace Russell. In 2012, my home school, Russell Academy, was established. I am the proud mother of 4 Star Stellar students. When I first began working with my kiddos, we worked at the kitchen table. However, I realized that a more permanent space for learning was necessary. That is when I converted our game room into a classroom. My kids know that when they step into the classroom, learning is about to take place. You may be asking, well, what if I do not have an entire room to convert into a classroom? And you also may be saying, Candace, you chose to homeschool. The pandemic forced me to homeschool. Well, I have the solution on how to create a warm environment and set the tone for learning. With a few Dollar Tree buys, you can get your house in shape and convert any space into a space for learning. Strategically place a portable school supply basket at the center of your table and accessorize it with learning placemats, which can include the solar system, the states, the periodic table, alphabets, math facts, and much more. You ask, what is a portable school supply station? In this school supply basket, you have glue, pens, pencils, rulers, crayons, map pencils, and much more. Also, hang an inexpensive cork board on the wall to display your child's weekly schedule and help them with their time management. You can also display your child's A assignments. Make sure that your room has adequate lighting and add lamps to the space if necessary. You can also create a nice, cozy reading nook by buying a simple rug, getting a beanbag chair, and adding a lamp. Let's set the tone for learning. Get in the zone.